Hey there, everyone. Welcome to another video and welcome to 2024 as well. So in this video, I want to share with you some ideas around Mars in Capricorn and how this can be really helpful for you if you're working with your goals for the new year and setting intentions and the like. So Mars in Capricorn is going to be, Mars is going to be moving through Capricorn until from January 4 until February 14. So we've got a sort of solid 6 weeks there of action planet Mars moving through its sign of exaltation, which is Capricorn. So before I get into the nuts and bolts of that, firstly, one of my goals for 2024 is to be more consistent in posting on YouTube. It is the social media platform I neglect the most. But if you do like what I have to say and you want to see it a little bit more regularly, I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel, share with an astrology friend. That would be amazing. Also, next week, which is Wednesday the 10th here in Australia, I believe it'll be, I just check that, Tuesday the 9th, yes, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, I'll be hosting a webinar on the year ahead. So we're going to be exploring 2024, looking at all the major hit points, what that might mean for you if you have planets or angles in that part of your birth chart. And I'll be posting a link to that webinar where you can sign up below. So Mars in Capricorn, I'm a fan. Mars in Capricorn helps us bring the action of Mars. Mars is the planet of desire, of action, of attack and defend. It's our mojo and it's our drive. When it's in Saturn's sign, it's exalted. So in Capricorn, it's said to be exalted. So without going into the technicalities of what that means, what happens in this configuration is that the heat and the dryness of Mars gets, well, I should say the extreme heat and dryness of Mars gets tempered down by the coolness of Capricorn. So what we get here, to say, for example, to compare to Mars in Aries, we get a real flash in the pan, hot action, a very initiatory type of energy, but gets bored very quickly. It sort of starts something, then on to the next thing. In Capricorn, we do get that Saturn austerity, the slowing down, the cooling down of Mars's pace. So for the next 6 weeks, when it comes to the stuff, whatever that stuff may be, we'll cover some of that in a minute, whatever that stuff may be, we can take a really tempered, a measured and focused approach to those new year goals, resolutions, and really working towards whatever your desires may be. I think it's important to think about Mars like that too, because unlike Venus, her desirous nature is to sort of attract things to her or to him. With Mars, it's going out and getting it. So whatever that desire is, could be a whole multitude of things. It is about taking diligent, disciplined and concerted action to get to that thing or person, whoever it may be. Okay, so instead of hot, dry Mars, we get a warm Mars. So the coolness of Saturn added to the heat of Mars brings sort of a bit more of a warm, not too hot, not too dry, or sorry, not too hot, not too cool. So we get a more manageable temperature. Obviously, it's still really dry, and dryness is about separateness. It's that sort of division or splitting. So if you imagine if your skin gets too dry, it starts to kind of crack. And so there's that separateness or that division that can happen with dryness. And that's something that's really important when we're thinking about discipline, action, and making progress with different things. So instead of a very hot flash in the pan, your resolutions and goals only going as far as January, we get a more, a warm Mars that can burn for just a little bit longer, as opposed to just a quick flash. So Mars can still, tackle a challenge here, but it's less likely to flag or fail. It's going to go for the long game, the measured approach, taking the sort of daily discipline of the daily action to which is discipline to the end point of that goal, right? So it's kind of like compounded interest or saving. So if you just put away just a few bucks a week, or however many bucks that might be, if you look at that bank balance in 12 months' time, potentially add a little bit of interest to that, you've got that compounded interest. So it is this idea of the slower burn, the longer game, the little actions done on a daily basis that have a compounded effect over time. So this is the idea of doing something for yourself every single day which is Mars, that your future self, Saturn or Capricorn, will thank you for. So during the week of this 6-week transit, what also happens is that we have Pluto in Capricorn leaves the sign. Now, that is something that obviously doesn't happen very often. We had a brief ingress of Pluto in Aquarius in 2023, but during this particular month, January 20, Pluto will exit Capricorn. And then what we have here from January 20 to February 14, Mars will be free of the energy of Pluto. So they obviously don't conjoin during this transit. That happens when Mars and Pluto are together in Aquarius in February. But I do feel that there's something to this energy that may really help you wrap up some of this Pluto in Capricorn story. Obviously, it's not done yet because we've got more of that to come later in the year. But this might be part of the process, or that really that point of starting to sever or cut away from some of the maybe issues, the problems, the lessons that you may have been dealing with for the past 15 years with Pluto in Capricorn. So there's this idea here of severing ties, which is very Mars, and then moving on to the next thing. So that is something to think about too. You might be finally ready to be done with the Capricorn part of your life, particularly if you've been a little bit hammered by Pluto in Capricorn as a transiting influence. So this might be, okay, I've learned the lessons, and now I'm going to take this transit of Mars with perhaps a little bit more of that exalted approach. I'm going to take what I've learned. I'm going to take the lessons. I'm going to take that disciplined action and not let it sort of drag me down or pull me under, because Pluto's not a part of the story anymore. Also, another thing that I'm really excited about this transit of Mars is the fact that it's visible. So we had the cazimi of Mars. I think that may have been October now. And it's been sort of under the beams and combust the sun. And, then it made the cazimi in October, and then it reversed out of that cycle. So the good news is that Mars is now visible in the eastern horizon. And so in ancient astrology, it was really valued to be able to see a planet rise in the east after a period of it being unseen. So like anything, if you've not seen something for a while and then you see it again, you're really asked to take notice of it. If, say, for example, if you've not heard from a friend for quite some time, and then they all of a sudden contact you, that's going to have a little bit more of an impact, or going to be more noticeable energy than if, those times that they're contacting you a lot. So this is like Mars. And so in its synodic cycle, I call it the newly minted soldier. So this is the idea that the civilian is taken into a military organization. They're sort of indoctrinated into that system, and they cross that threshold from civilian life into military life. And so you could also, see that as a training protocol to enter a new organization, university. You're a high schooler, then move into university, and then you come out of that. But the idea here is that there's freshness, there's newness, there's a willingness, like someone fresh out of uni or someone fresh out of army training. They're looking for a battle, they're looking for a challenge, or they're looking to sort of flex their muscles a little bit in terms of making a difference or changing things. Really excited to do something. And this is very much what Mars is like right now. So in its synodic cycle, in terms of its transit with the sun, it's a little bit green. So when I say it's a little bit green, it's like a naive type of Mars, like, a guy just out of recruit training, for instance, maybe a little bit gun happy or ready for, he's not battle weary yet, I guess is the point I'm trying to make there. Not trying to avoid a fight, but maybe looking for one. However, in Capricorn, there's this idea of an old head on young shoulders. So there's some kind of wisdom there. There's a temperance. This isn't my first rodeo with something. So this can be real. I know I'm kind of going on a few tangents here, but there's something pretty, when you reflect on this and sit with it a bit, I feel that this energy moving forward can really just help you ground into this new year, help you ground into your desires, and into the things that you want, whether it's a goal, setting intentions. And I won't go too much into the difference of those. Now, rather than just kind of, I want to climb the ladder of this organization, or I want the corner office, or I want to upgrade my BMW, whatever the thing is. Not that I drive one of those, but yeah, rather than those kind of Mars and Capricorn material type of goals. And I mean, obviously, they're still going to be a priority. There's no romance without finance, or perhaps, you want to move to a better location that's still going to, it's going to be money. If you want to travel, yeah, it's going to be money. So obviously the material is still a thing. However, Mars is looking to Saturn in Pisces. And so through Saturn's 2.5-year tour of Pisces, we only get this one iteration of Mars in Capricorn. So what might that suggest to us? Would our action perhaps be a little bit more compassionate? Maybe sort of a little bit of a softer, more gentle approach to those hard and fast goals, maybe? This might help you implement some maybe healthier emotional boundaries. Maybe the action that you're taking is for a greater goal or a greater good. Something that was, that I was reminded of just the other day. Someone said to me, I'm a real believer that you've got to help yourself first before you can help others. And so this is a little bit that Mars in Capricorn. Maybe you do have to, you go to work so you can come home and be with your family, or maybe you go to work and earn a bit more money so you can then, share the things that you've, the resources that you've obtained, with whichever way you choose. Remember that Mars is very, it's a planet of cutting. It's a cutter and a burner, and that's one of its primary functions. And so this may, looking to Saturn in Pisces, this may also help you cut away from something that's toxic, that's become a little bit of a dead weight in your life or held you back somewhat. And so when it comes to achieving goals, when it comes to, striking out and achieving something, more often than not, it's a bit of a solo path. So let's just say, for example, your goal in 2024, you want to lose 5 kilos, that's about 10 pounds. Well, you have to cut calories. You have to carve out time to go and increase your caloric expenditure at the gym, or doing various forms of exercise. So there is that kind of idea of cutting. If you want to save more money, well, that's great, but you have to cut it from somewhere. So that might be reducing unnecessary expenditure. If you want to write a book, that's great, but you're going to have to make some cuts to your time. So that might be cutting back on a social life, or maybe even having to cut back a little bit on the time that you spend with loved ones. So that's the Mars in Capricorn reality. Like, we can't escape that part of it. However, with Mars in Capricorn looking to Saturn in Pisces, I do think there's that beautiful opportunity for a reconfiguration or a reframe here. So if that goal, for example, is to lose weight, maybe instead of thinking I'm losing weight, which sort of psychologically the emphasis is on the loss, right? This might be about I'm going to gain vitality, energy, and strength. If it is about saving money rather than I'm just cutting back on expenses, maybe the reframe here is I'm growing abundance. And of course, if it's writing the book and you're thinking, oh, how am I going to, not spend so much time with my friends or my loved ones or whatever, maybe the reframe here is I'm choosing to create something really beautiful that I want to put in the world. So, there is this really beautiful balance here with the configuration of Mars in Capricorn looking to Saturn in Pisces. Is what do you have to discipline yourself towards? That's also a bit of a sacrifice. And the idea of, because if you don't sacrifice for what you want becomes a sacrifice. And that's something I think we can think about as we move into this year. Because if you get to this point in 2025 and you look back to this time period now, you want to try and avoid being in the same position that you are right now. So the astrology is really quite powerful to make some real changes, to get excited about what you want to achieve. Because the energy is pretty dynamic in 2024. There's a lot going on. So there's something about the energy of now that can really kind of get you grounded and solid and inspired about what you want to do moving forward. I also like the idea that every soldier needs a sage. If you've been following my work for a while, you will know my love of medieval movies and things of that nature. And over the New Year's weekend, I watched Gladiator, one of my favorite movies of all time. And, every warrior needs a philosopher or a priest or a sage or something like that. And I think this Mars in Capricorn looking to Saturn in Pisces, it can really help you find that wisdom in what you're doing. What is the greater purpose of what you're doing? Because when it comes to the whole new year, new me, it does take more than discipline. I mean, discipline's a massive part of it. Don't get me wrong. Like, the action, Mars and Capricorn, has to be taken every day. But if you don't find your why, if you don't find it within the waters within you, as why you're doing what you're doing and what you're doing it for, then it just becomes a little bit of a lost cause eventually. So that's the gospel according to Cass for this morning. And yeah, so if you're still here with me, I'd love to hear what your goals are for the new year. What do you want to see in 2024? Do you have some precipice feelings around some of the changes that we're seeing in 2024 and 2025 and 6? There's a lot in the pipeline collectively. So there's something about the now that's really powerful in sort of grounding yourself in some purposeful discipline to help you navigate through this period of time. Are you looking forward to Pluto exiting Capricorn? I know we do get a brief revisit, but yeah, I'd love to hear what are you excited for in 2024? There we go, a little bit of a rhyme. And yeah, if you want to see me next week on the live webinar, I'd love to see you there as well. And the link is below. And I look forward to seeing you next time.